The Magaddino crime family relied on burglary for extra money. The burglary ring was controlled by John C. Sacco, with three main figures in his ranks: Russell DeCicco, Gregory Parnas, and Louis Mavrakis. The FBI was working to take them down when an informant stepped up, Gregory's brother, Paul Parnas. Paul informed the FBI that Sacco had big connections with other bosses, including Russell Bufalino, the successor of Barbara as head of the Piston crime family in northeastern Pennsylvania. In April of 1968, Sacco and Bufalino began working together in the burglary ring. Their first job was for Bufalino to hawk 60 stolen color television sets. Thanks to Paul, the FBI recovered the TV sets before the burglars could carry out their plan. Their situation went from bad to worse when the thieves targeted a wealthy art collector. Thomas Edward Hanley, born in 1893, was a wealthy physician who had inherited much of his money from his family's brick manufacturing company and Pennsylvania oil and gas industry investments. He used his allowance to collect rare books and art, beginning in his sophomore year at Harvard University. His collection included works by D.H. Lawrence, George Bernard Shaw, T.S. Eliot, Oscar Wilde, and Elizabeth Barrett Browning. His most prized possessions were an original edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass and the corrected page proofs from James Joyce's Ulysses. Hanley's taste in art ran mostly to Impressionist and Post-Impressionist artists, although he also collected works by 19th century American artists. Represented in his collection were artists such as Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Rembrandt Peale, Gilbert Stuart, Pablo Picasso, and Paul Cézanne. He built a generous reputation for donating and/or loaning much of his collections to museums and universities. Buffalo's Albright Knox Art Gallery displayed his paintings in 1944. And in 1967, he displayed 300 pieces at Huntington Hartford's Art Gallery in New York City. All of this made it well known to the world and the Mafia that Hanley had a vast and valuable collection. On August 21st, in 1968, DeCicco and Mavrakis burglarized Hanley's home. According to the New York Times, the thieves broke in through the kitchen and forced their way into his gallery. They walked off with 14 framed paintings and 2 bronze statues. Hanley, in poor health, was asleep in his upstairs bedroom. Among the stolen artwork were paintings by Francisco Goya, Renoir, Francois Boucher, and Henry Fantin Latour. In addition, the burglars took 2 statues by Edgar Degas and Auguste Rodin, worth about $25,000 each. But the most valuable pieces stolen were Picasso's Au Moulin Rouge, at the time valued at $500,000, and Cézanne's Portrait of Villars, valued at $450,000. The next day, Hanley's wife Tullah returned to their home from a business trip and assessed the situation. The value of the stolen artwork came to $1,394,250, as reported by the Chicago Tribune. Mrs. Hanley was adamant that the paintings would be returned and would take down whoever broke into their home. This became one of the Magadino family's most public missteps. After informing the police of the value of the stolen artwork, Mrs. Hanley took matters into her own hands and held a press conference. The thieves did not know what to take, what they might be able to sell. No one in the world will buy them. No art dealer or collector will buy them. They cannot sell them. My husband and I are going to get them back. Of this, I am certain. She offered a reasonable sum of money with no questions asked for their safe return, and criticized the theft as definitely a job by local amateurs, not the work of professionals. But while Tullah suspected amateurs, the New York State Police captain later admitted to the Bradford era that the burglary had a definite Cosa Nostra flavor to it. In the meantime, the Buffalo Mafia burglars needed to figure out what to do with the stolen art. Paul Parnas, the FBI's informant, said the burglary was committed by Russell DeChico and Louis Mavrakis, with help from the Chico's wife, Renee, and Parnas's brother, Greg. He also stated that the paintings were stored not far from the Hanley home. The FBI sent an undercover agent posing as a crooked art dealer. The Chico fell for the ruse and guaranteed that he would get the paintings to the buyer in Buffalo. On August 29th, the Chico, Parnas, and Mavrakis left Buffalo for the Bedford area to retrieve the stolen pieces. Authorities trailed them the entire way from New York to Pennsylvania. When the three burglars arrived at their hiding place, an oil shack near a gas station, they noticed the Pittsburgh FBI trailing them. They immediately returned to their car and hightailed it back to Buffalo. Noticing this change in plans, the authorities searched the shack and recovered the stolen art undamaged. The FBI chose not to prosecute immediately, as they were building a larger case against the Magaddino burglary ring. Soon, the burglary ring found even more trouble. The Chico was charged with stealing Rembrandt's Portrait of a Young Man in an Armchair from the George Eastman Museum in Rochester, New York. Then Parnas was tagged for the burglary of $50,000 worth of art from the home of wealthy Buffalo banker Seymour Knox II. It was not until January of 1969 that the burglars would face trial for the Hanley art theft. At the trial, the defendants' mouths were agape when Paul Parnas took the stand. He had betrayed them all, and none of them, not even his own brother, suspected a thing. However, the trial's main attraction was the eccentric Tullah Hanley. While it is uncertain what she wore to the trial, the Buffalo News reported after her death that she was a flashy dresser. Her trademarks were low-cut, skin-tight outfits, topped off with a turban or a feathered hat. Joe Griffin, former Buffalo FBI agent and author of Mob Nemesis, How the FBI Crippled Organized Crime, described her at the trial as such.
She was some ticket, that Miss Hanley. 70 years old, but very well preserved. She told me during our court break conversations that her political affiliation was sexually progressive, and that she was a 12 o'clock woman in a 9 o'clock town. I tell ya, old man Hanley.
Thomas Edward Hanley did not attend the trial because Tullah never told him about the burglary. As she reasoned,
it would simply kill him.
Soon after the trial, however, on April 9th, 1969, Thomas Edward Hanley passed away.